Hi, I'm Katie Zom-Alfiero. We're going to dive into Zomco's new pattern and make this beautiful quilt together. It's called Grid View Quilt. It's inspired by the stunning aerial views seen from high up in an airplane. And this quilt features a geometric design, both modern and timeless. Now, during the demo, this is the quilt that we're going to be making. It is Figo Fabric Serenity line. We will be really walking through a small throw, but this quilt is offered in 3 sizes: baby, small throw, and twin. And we will be walking through 3 different sewing techniques: strip piecing, chain piecing, and nesting seams. If at any time you want to jump through, all the different chapters are listed below, as well as all the links into what I'll be referencing. The fabric requirements on this are exact. This will help with minimizing waste, and also if you're looking for something in your stash, you know exactly what you need. However, if you are a beginner quilter, I do suggest you buying a little extra because mistakes do happen, right? I want to go through some color inspiration. Now this is listed in the pattern, but I want to kind of show you here in this video. This one, the Figo one, we're going to have bundles at String and Story, and it's really just kind of a monochromatic green. I'll zoom in. I love this one. The quilting is done by Sew Colorado, the Rocky Mountain Pantograph, and String and Story is going to have bundles for this one, so I'll put her link below here too. In the backing and binding, I just pulled that darker fabric, and I just think it looks timeless. I just love this one. The next one is Fabulism. So this is all woven fabrics. I do have a few bundles in my shop, again, linked below for this. I just love the neutrals, and I reversed it. So the darker fabric is A and the lighter fabric is D. Up next, we have Ruby Star Society, and this bundle is Lamb and Loom. So I'm kind of pulling in 2 colors. I have that mustardy yellow, and I have blues. So kind of zooming in, even that ivory softer color has some yellow in it. The quilting has some beautiful sunflowers. Just the yellow reminded me of sunflowers, and that's done by Sew Colorado as well, using her long arm. And then the back has just such a beautiful pop of color. And here is my pattern cover for PBS Solids. Bundle is at String and Story. Just using some pinks and like the muted, I love muted tones with like a pop of purple. The purple is called Raisin, and I just think it's delicious. The bundle is at String and Story. Did I say that already? Long arm is done by Red Rocks Quilting. We did a grid, hence the grid view. And these were all small throws. So the last 4 quilts I've shown are all small throw size. But I want to show you what a twin size looks like. And here, just using all neutrals from Art Gallery Fabric Solids. I think that dark color is Walnut Vintage, if I remember correctly. But here you'll see some custom quilting done by Red Rocks Quilting Co. I just thought of this as Phoenix. I used to live in Phoenix for 7 years, and Phoenix is truly like built on a grid. And so once I thought of that, I just couldn't get it out of my head. So we put some street names on there. We highlighted some buildings. On the bottom right, you'll see the Phoenix Convention Center, which QuiltCon was held at last year, 2022, which was my first time at QuiltCon. So definitely had to highlight that building. Anyhow, just a lot of joy when I look at this. And the backing is just beautiful. Bonnie Christine, the butterflies, I just love them so much. So this is a throw, and I want to show you kind of the difference between them. So on the right, I have my twin, and on the left, we have the small throw. And you can see kind of the difference even between that center, that number 4 block there on the sizes of these. But they're both great options for your house, if it's for your bed or for your living room. And let's dive into it. All right, we're going to talk about cutting like our yardage that's over a yard, so like the yard and a half, yard and a quarter, whatever you're working with, as we cut through the grid view pattern. So first I pressed it, and then I fold in half. And when I fold in half, so you can kind of see, there's 2 layers there. When I fold in half, I make sure that I align the selvage and that it lays nice for me. So you can see my crease down here is straight. It's not wonky, like it's not off like that or anything. And I just make sure that whole thing is as flat as can be. Then I'm gonna take the fold and fold it up to the selvage. Again, aligning it straight as your eyeball will allow you to. So here we are. Now I'm going to use my Stripology ruler and cut my strips. This is fabric A for me, and I'm going to be cutting 2 5-inch, 3 3.5, and 10 2 inches. So let me zoom in so you guys can see better. Remember, I have 4 pieces of fabric here, so I really want to make sure I'm pressing hard each time. I'm going to line up the bottom part of my ruler with this fold crease. Okay. I'm going to be cutting through 4 pieces of fabric, so I'm really going to make sure I'm pressing hard. Then I'm going to line up the bottom part of my ruler with this fold crease. So this line is going to be matching my fold crease. Then I'm going to take it and cut at the 0, pressing down, and that will give me that straight edge at the beginning. Follow the pattern. Again, this is A for me, so I'm going to do 2 5 inches, 2 5 inches, 3 3.5, so 5, 1 2 3.5, a half, 1 2 3, and then I'm going to pause and start over. So you can see that is, let me zoom out, so 5 and a 5, and then a 3 and a 3. So then I'm going to stack these, set them aside, and pick back up. Now, so because this is longer, I'm going to actually start over just to make sure that everything looks good. I don't do this every time, but again, with a bigger piece of fabric, it won't hurt, to make sure that things are straight. So it's flat. I'm going to take the fold up. There we go. Now I'm going to start again, far left. So I need 1 more 3.5. So again, I'm going to start far left, giving myself a little bit of room to then trim, line it up at the bottom. Trim to start with 0. I'm going to do 3.5. And then I need 2 inches. So here's my 3.5. So for easy math, I'm gonna start over. And when I mean start over, I'm just gonna kind of reset the ruler. So there's that, and then I'm gonna cut every 2 inches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. All right. And there are my 10 2-inch strips. So now I have A all cut. Strip piece is a technique that quilters use when sewing long strips of fabric together and cutting them into equal parts. I'm going to start by lining the selvage up on the left. This will help me know where to start. It's important for this example, I'm going to start at the left and sew down, and then I'm going to alternate my sewing directions. This will help keep the fabric flat and not give you that curve bow look. I am going to pin each strip. I'm going to set the other ones aside. So I'm going to take the first and second one. I'm going to line up the raw edges and use a very thin and flexible pin. You can see how thin it is. When I pin it, I'm going to kind of keep it away from that 1/4 inch edge. This will ensure that I don't run over it on my machine. You can also pin it on the other side and then take it out as you sew, keeping them a good distance apart. And then I'm going to just keep pinning all the way down. So I brought that strip over to my machine and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch all the way down, really focusing on making a straight stitch, speeding it up as I go all the way through to the end. Now here is where I chain piece. Notice I stop, I grab my next piece, I do not cut the thread, and then I put that underneath the foot and keep going. Again, sewing a 1/4 inch. Also notice how I'm not sewing over my pins. I'm sewing right next to them. Now I'm going to press the strip open with my fingers. So do a good finger press before grabbing my iron. I used the Aliso wool mat and the Aliso iron. My favorite tools. Great company. Iron gets really hot. I never use the steam. If anything, I'll spray it a little bit if needed. So now I have 2 strips done. Again, this is why I keep the selvage on the left side, so I can note in my head, okay, I started from the selvage out. So the next 2 pieces, because again, I want to alternate my sewing, I'm going to start on the right hand side and move left. So I'm going to grab my pins and pin those up and get sewing. And this is a completed sewn strip. We are going to cut into equal parts using the Stripology ruler, aligning the left with the 0 and the center lines to ensure that the strip is straight. Again, blocking or lining on the left and looking at the lines in the center as well as top and bottom. They're all important. I'm going to cut every 3.5. Now you can't see the bottom of the ruler, but I marked with the washi tape at the bottom every 3.5 inches. So I don't have to do the math as I'm cutting. I just look at the washi tape and then I cut all the way down. This is an XL ruler, which I love because it allows me a few extra cuts. Once I cut as much as I can in the one strip, I then remove my cut pieces. In this case, I will cut 6 pieces. Then we'll repeat once more or until I've cut all I can from the strips. Note that all seams are pressed in the same direction, which will set us up for success when we nest seams. I'm going to start assembling our block 2. So we need to have a total of 6 blocks. I'm going to set aside 6 of row 5, which I will sew on last. And then the other 2 rows, I can then apply the techniques chain piecing and the nesting seam technique. So as a quick reminder, we're in the middle of assembling block 2 for the grid view quilt, and I'm making a small throw size. Let's talk about the next technique. about nesting seams. So nesting seams need to go in opposite directions. So as a reminder, I have all seams going in one direction on the same block before I cut them. Then I'm going to do right sides together, and I'm going to see how they go in opposite direction. I'm then going to say pinch and use my flexible to then pin it. Then I'm going to say the same thing right here. I'm going to pinch and have it lay real nice. Then I'm going to use, again, another flexible pin and pin that one. Now, you can see that my pins are, I'm sewing 1/4 inch. So I'm going to kind of bring it down so I'm not going over the pin with the machine. And because these are a little bit long and I like to pin, I'm just going to go ahead and put one on each side. So this stays. I'm going to go to my machine. So I'm going to sit here and pin all of these. And by doing so, then I'm going to go to my machine and then be able to sew all of them. As I continue to pin, I just make sure that the pins are not going to be ran over by the machine and leaving myself 1/4 inch. So I have multiple of the items that I wanted to sew, and I'm going to continuously sew them. So first up, then I'm going to take the next one, not cut it, keep it as is, and just go straight under and keep going. So I can continue to do this, the threads there, not cutting anything. Chain piecing can really save you a ton of time once you get the hang of it, and thread. So here I will continuously sew rows 1 and 2 and rows 3 and 4 together for block 2. So I'm going to continue to assemble block 2. We just did rows 1 and 2 and then rows 3 and 4. So I have 12 of these mini blocks, if you will, pressing everything in the same direction. And in this case, I'm using the stripe fabric as a reference, and I'm pressing everything towards the stripe fabric. So I'm going to split it up into 6 and 6, because at the end of the day, block 2 is going to have 6 blocks. So I'm counting out 6 and 6. And then remember, on the right hand side, I still have 6 of the row 5. So then I'm going to, again, use those techniques and nest my seams and then pin them and then take it through the machine and chain piece continuously. Sew each one together. Just as a reminder, if the seams aren't aligning, then just flip the blocks. Block 2 is assembled, so steps 11 and 12 following the pattern are complete. Here I'm using my Aliso iron to press all the seams again in one direction, and in this case I'm referencing the stripe fabric, so everything's going up towards the stripe fabric. This is setting us up to when we put our blocks together, we can then again nest our seams and apply that same technique. Here's block 1, block 2, block 3, and block 4. So since I've assembled all my blocks, I want to show you and jump to quilt top assembly. So I'm on step number 24 of the pattern, and I'm going to nest my seams, pin and sew blocks 1 and 2, alternating to get rows 1, 3, and 5 of the pattern. So you can see block 1 and 2, I need 6 pairs of them. So I'm going to set aside 3 block 1s that again I will add at the end. Come through and say, so let me actually set those aside. Then I'm going to sew right sides together on the long edge and nest my seams, pin, and then sew them continuously. So again, using the chain piecing technique. So here you can kind of see the seams align, they're pressed in alternate directions. And then I want to show you that if they don't align, so hey, you fold them, oh, they're not aligned, you can easily flip it. And in this situation, I'm not using any directional fabric, I'm using bi-directional fabric with the stripes, but we planned that out in cutting, so we're good. So you continue to use the nesting and chain piece method throughout the rest of the pattern. I want to show you real quick. Here's me assembling 2 rows together. You can see all my nested seams. And then we will have a finished grid view top. Thank you. My name is Katie. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.